Good day, everyone. We are the Group 3 present to you the topic entitled Anti-oppressive Education. Without further ado, let's begin. But before of that, I want to define first what is anti-oppressive education. So, anti-oppressive education is premised on the notion that many tradition and common sense ways of engaging in education actually contribute to oppression in school and society. Furthermore, anti-oppressive education is premised on the notion that many common sense ways of reforming education actually mask the oppression that need to be challenged. What results is a deep commitment to changing how we think about and engages in many aspects of education, from curriculum and pedagogy to school, culture and activities to institutional structure and policies. Perhaps more importantly, what results is a deep commitment to exploring perspectives on education that do not conform to what has become common sense in the field of education. Anti-oppressive education expect to be different, perhaps uncomfortable and even controversial. So why is anti-oppressive education important? So becoming an anti-oppressive educator means having a deep commitment to change and having the skills and courage to engage in changing curriculum, pedagogy, classroom management, and school culture. An anti-oppressive educator will create a safe space for the oppressed to speak, to be heard, and to be honored. So for the next presenter, we'll discuss to you about the form of oppression.
Hi, my name is Jimmy Remintis Jr. and I will discuss the 7 forms of oppression. First, racism, classism, sexism, heterosexism, anti-Semitism, ableism, colonialism. Racism, the marginalization or oppression of people of color based on a socially constructed racial hierarchy, refers to the categories into which society places individual on the basis of physical characteristics such as skin color, hair types, facial form, and eye shape. Classism is a form of oppression, and the term refers specifically to discrimination against lower incomes individuals and groups, with the understanding that classism contributes to maintaining systems of class privilege. Sexism, prejudice or discrimination based on sex or gender, especially against women and girls. Sexism can be belief that one sex is superior to or more valuable than another sex. Heterosexism is a system of attitudes, bias, and discrimination in favor of female and male sexuality and relationships. Heterosexism as discrimination ranks gay men, lesbian, bisexual, and other sexual minorities as second-class citizens with regards to various legal and civil rights, economic opportunities, and social equality in many of the world's jurisdictions and societies. Anti-Semitism, hostility towards or discrimination against Jews as a religious or racial groups. It may take the form of religious teachings that proclaims the inferiority of Jews, for instance, or political efforts to isolate, oppress, or otherwise injure them. It may take also include prejudice or stereotypes views about Jews. Ableism, discrimination and oppression of disabled people, societal belief that being able is normal and is prepared. Ableism, a system of oppression that favors being able-bodied, able-minded, at any cost, frequently at the expense of people with disabilities. Colonialism refers to the combination of territorial, juridical, cultural, linguistic, political, mental, epistemic, and or economic domination of one group of people or groups of people by another external group of people.
Good day, everyone. I am Julie May Alarcon Mendias, your next presenter. This diagram is called Circle of Oppression. It composes sections or parts to hold words that are connected by a common relationship. As we observe, the outer part of that are the disadvantaged or marginalized, while the inner part are the normalized or privileged. Like in the portion of class, the normalized or privileged here are the rich and educated, while the poor and uneducated are the disadvantaged or marginalized. Same goes with the ability, language, appearance, sexuality, gender, and race. The innermost part of the circle shows the dominant group and ideology. This emphasizes the oppressions which are being tell as socially constructed and not individual. Thus, in the theory of social constructionism, it asserts that all meaning is socially created. Social construct might be so ingrained that they feel natural, but they are not. Instead, they are an invention of a given society and thus do not accurately reflect reality. To end my part, I want to convey the importance of anti-oppressive education to end the socially construct issues in the society. That's all. Thank you.
What is social justice? Social justice refers to a political and philosophical theory that focuses on the concept of fairness and relations between individuals and society and equal access to wealth, opportunities, and social privilege. In short, social justice is the view that everyone deserves equal economic, political, and social rights and opportunity. History and evolution of social justice. The concept of social justice first arose in the 19th century during the Industrial Revolution as attempts were made to promote more egalitarian societies and reduce the exploitation of certain marginalized groups due to the vast disparity between the rich and poor at the time. 5 principles of social justice. Number 1, access to resource. Access to resource is an important principle of social justice and refers to the extent to which different socioeconomic groups receive equal access to give everyone an equal start in life. Number 2, equity. Equity refers to how individuals are given tools specific to their needs and socioeconomic status in order to move towards similar outcomes. It contrasts with equality, where everyone is offered the same tools to move towards the same outcome. Number 3, participation refers to how everyone in society is given a voice and opportunity to verbalize their opinions and concerns and have a role in any decision making that affects their livelihood and standard of living. Number 4, diversity. Understanding their diversity and appreciating the value of cultural differences are especially important because policymakers are often better able to construct policies that take into consideration differences that exist among different societal groups. It is important to recognize that some groups face more barriers in society And by considering the inequities, policymakers and civil servants will be in a stronger position to expand opportunities for marginalized or disadvantaged groups. 5. Human rights. Human rights are one of the most important principles of social justice and form a foundational part of the concept. Human rights and social justice are certainly interrelated, and it is impossible for one to exist without the other. Human rights are fundamental to societies that respect the civil, economic, political, cultural, and legal rights of individuals, and governments, organization, and individual must be held responsible if they fail to ensure the upholding of these rights.
Next, I will discuss about the approaches to anti-oppressive education. In approaches to anti-oppressive education, there is two ways. First, the subtle ways like changing the wording issues. In this way, you may say something nice that helps the issues. Don't allow yourself to get distracted in helping to solve the issues. You should speak what is good idea to resolve the problem. You might point out the benefits, also willing to compromise. In that way, the issues will be settled. Second, the obvious ways. Obvious ways like creating learning situation that help students to be critical observers of their environment. Yes, you must do something that may help students to be more observer for their environment. In that way, they will be a good influence to others. Being observer is very helpful because you can create an idea to solve the problem. What is the best for the said problem of your environment? Thank you.
Good day everyone, I am Dennis Walay and this is my report. So, what can educators do to remove or to deal with oppressive or anti-oppressive education? So, the first is to teach or educate students and people to value difference and recognize injustice, and also to take action to question injustice. And then number two is to critically evaluate and modify curriculum, materials, and educating strategies. Number three, expand personal and professional knowledge about issues of oppression and marginalized groups. Number four is learn from and collaborate with other teachers who teach for social justice. For example, the social workers. So, number five, last is take a stance in their personal, social, and professional lives to work for social justice. And next is removing oppressive lenses. So, as an educator, how can we remove the oppressive lenses, or how the educator can remove the oppressive lenses? So, Kevin Kumashiro create a study about anti-oppressive education, and he further developed the four approaches to deal to the anti-oppressive education to remove the oppressive lenses. And this is the four approaches that he developed, which is education for the others, education about the other, education that is critical of privileging and othering, and last is education that changes students and society. So, ano-ano nga ba ito, ang mga approaches na ito? So, number one is education for the other. It is recognizing the oppression and its effect. So, which is recognizing that many groups are failing, and the job of the educators need to be to reach out and tailor their education for the students. And number two, education about the other, which is recognizing the stereotypes. This approach is about recognizing is often teaching. Is often teaching is very partial stories, and our knowledge is very partial, and the job of the educators or the teachers is round the out is to include much more information about many different groups. And then number three is education that is critical of privileging other, which is it is looking at society and white privilege. This approach demands that we need that we name the norms, the underlying stories, the narrative, the unspoken, and oftentimes the hidden ideologies, and to challenge the stories that often fuel discrimination, inequality, inequity, and injustice. And the last one is education that changes students and society. It is, which is the resistance, crisis, excuse me, and signifying of self. It's actually central to the work of educators or teachers. It's not just addressing ignorance. It's addressing resistance to change, and here are some strategies to do. So, according to Dr. Kumashiro, he thinks that these four approaches, when when put together, can give us a really powerful kind of framework for thinking about how in complex ways and within multiple strategies to tackle the problem of injustice. And that's all my report. Thank you.
Next is the lens of oppression. So, what are the lenses of oppression? Those are the racism, classism, heterosexism, sexism, and anti-Semitism. So, first is, what is lens? So, lens is a metaphor to communicate the idea of looking at an event, experience, or a set of data through a particular perspective. So the lens is being employed at any given time. Each of the views of the world or the individual through a set of lenses in every day. So and it is how we react and make meaning the world or meaning on a particular situation or event. So the lens of systemic oppression is a lens we intentionally employ to sharpen our focus on the ways in which any forms of oppression like race, gender, sexual orientation, the class, language, or etc. may be negatively impacting people's ability to make progress on the things they care about and preventing individual and collective towards the achievement of a particular goal. So those lenses that I've been discussed, which is the racism, sexism, classism, heterosexism, and anti-Semitism, it play out in school and experienced by these students or even the educators or instructor. They also experience that kind of oppressions even in a small things or in a small way. The purpose of using any given lens is to improve the predictability of our actions relative to a desired outcome. We believe we increase the likelihood successfully reaching a given set of objectives when we consider what is happening and what actions to take from multiple perspectives. To take the field of anti-oppressive education is helpful and groundbreaking direction for us. And it is help to combat the condition which is the form of oppression. Any form of oppressions like when it comes to gender, to race, to class, and language. So that's it.